Alright, this is an experiment of sorts. I'm just going to see if this works at all. Am I in focus? In frame? Let's see. Hey, gotta get you like that. Here we go. Alright, so, I think I'm in frame. I'm just checking. Yeah, I'm in frame. Good. Alright, are we recording? Yeah, looks like we are. Alright, I'm gonna try something. Today we will be reading chapter 1 of Talarn by John French, The War for a Dead World. Now, how do I describe the universe this is set in? It is the 41st millennium, and there is only war. The Imperium of Man, humanity's greatest empire spanning across millions of worlds, is racked by endless conflict and inner treachery. But the Imperium stands still. The Imperium still stands as a beacon of humanity's hope and resilience. Humanity's resilience against the laughing, tyrannical gods that would watch as they die. To these lines of many wars and much bloodshed comes a conflict. A conflict that would reign and be remembered in humanity's history as the Horus Heresy, where arch-traitor Horus Dupercal and a full half of the Imperium's mighty forces turned traitor and turned their weapons upon their brothers. This tore the galaxy asunder in the greatest and most brutal civil war in human history. Its consequences would be felt for millenniums, would be felt for many centuries after the conflict itself ended. Worlds had burned, legions decimated, tens of trillions of people dead. And the once mighty God Emperor of Man put upon a golden throne in his wounded state. But that wasn't all. It wasn't all bad news. The arch-traitor Horus had been killed in battle. His treacherous legions and hordes and swarms of traitors and cultists had been smashed thoroughly. Their few surviving remnants fled into the massed warp and fled into the relative safety of the Eye of Terror. And from there they stay until now. They have been trying desperately to break from this eye, trying with all their military might and all their ferocious anger to break from the eye. Time and again, stalwart Cadia held them. The sacrifices and innumerable losses of the Imperial Guards personnel and the brave and heroic stands that the Imperium made against these tyrannical traitors, bled and destroyed and even embarrassed the heretics that attempted to assail them. But we are stepping ahead of ourselves here. We must now read this book, The Conflict for Talarn. This is a collective histories and collective biography of the conflict that would rack the once beautiful world of Talarn, the home of some of the finest Imperial Guard regiments and armoured regiments in the Imperium. It would be at the mercy of a traitor named Perturabo, the Lord of Iron, and his warriors, the Iron Warriors, the Fourth Legion, founded during the first founding of the Imperium's finest warriors, the Astartes. Now, the Astartes are strong, substantially so, their armour granting them strength that no flesh could, their indoctrination granting them courage that no commissar's bullet nor inspirational speech could grant any guardsman to receive it. This book details the story of a tank crew, one single tank crew, the pilots and gunners of a Lehman Russ Vanquisher. Now, I've read this book myself, and it's good. It details the intricate nature of the Imperial war machine. It also details the ferocious anger and merciless dehumanizing cruelty of the traitors. Still recording. Oh yes, we are. Good. Well, let's see what we should read over next. What we can read over. We have a lot of stuff to read. Stuff that I could read during this and the up and coming videos. I'm thinking about posting this to YouTube because honestly, I really want to join the intelligent and intellectual Warhammer community, despite the fact I'm mostly in Warhammer for the hobby, the battles that I fight with my guardsmen, and for the games, not to mention the lore. I'm not that into the painting element of it, to be honest with you, because I'm not that good at it, and because it takes ages. Let's see. So, this is an older codex. One of the first codexes of the Imperial Guard I ever got. Got from a good friend of mine. This is the first Imperial Guard codex I ever bought for myself. And this is the latest one, I believe. Yeah, this is the latest one. "2017, this one I got. So I'm thinking I'll read the first chapter. The first chapter of this This is the battle for Talarn. First chapter, the first. Witness. 394 days after the death of Talarn. Forgetting history's compassion for the truth of the past, General Elite Helicade, in his 51st missive to the Council of Terror. Alright. Let me get me a small drink first. The last Titan left on Talarn bore the world's new master across the dust plains. It was a lonely god. Its brothers and sisters waited in the heavens, cocooned in the bellies of ships, healing and arming for the next battle. When this final task was done, it would join them. But until then, it strode on with the weariness of a wounded soldier. The wind rattled against its pitted grey skin and pulled the call of dust over its shoulders. Every few hundred meters, it paused and shivered, damaged gears and clogged pistons clanking. Above its head, the sky was clear blue. Susada Sin, now the designated governor militant of Talarn, looked out from the Titan's eyes at the dry land. My land, he thought, and coughed. The wound on the left side of his chest flared with pain. He blinked but did not allow the discomfort to show on his face. At least he hoped that it did not show on his face. Beside him, the looming presence of Kakagol remained unmoving, the white scar's eyes fixed on the scene beyond the viewports of the Titan's bridge. General Gorn stood at his other shoulder, gaunt face utterly still above the buckled collar of his environment suit. Susada ran a hand against the neck seals of his own suit. Viral agents which had killed Talarn still persisted in the air and soil, and it would take hundreds, perhaps thousands of years before humans could breathe openly here again. He had not thought that his return home would be like this, but how could he have? In all the decades of war across the stars, he had always thought he would never see the world of his birth again. On Vessos and Tega Prime during the Great Crusade, and on Cauldron after the War Master turned, and on a dozen lesser fronts. He had been certain that death would pull him aside into cold oblivion, but he had lived, and now he returned to find that Talarn was no more. The deck swayed beneath his feet, and the god machine halted. Susada glanced at the unmoving forms of Principes and the twin Moderati. The three were wired into their thrones. Black crystal visors covered their faces, apparently to hide their eyes from others. He had never seen the custom in other Titan legions. He did not like it, but he did not know why. What is it? Susada asked after a few seconds. Why have we halted? Spools of punched parchment unwound slowly from the command consoles. Look, Kakigol spoke. The white scar was staring through the armor glass of the Titan's eyes, his own pupils as black pinpricks in grey irises. Susada followed the Space Marine's gaze and saw. The cloud had cleared from a patch of ground, peeled back by a tug of wind. Shapes emerged from the yellow murk. For a second he was reminded of the black the backs of sea creatures breaking the surface of an ocean, then he recognized what he was looking at. Spirals of corrosion covered the closest tank's hull, snaking across the pitted metal. Its tracks lay beside it and shed in the last moments before its destruction. A jagged, edged hole distorted the slope of the frontal armour. The turret hatch was still sealed, but the barrel of the main gun was a splintered twig of blackened metal. He could see dust heaps within the gutted interior, opened up to the deadly elements. Another tank emerged from the retreating cloud. The lines of its bulk softened by acidic decay. Beside it, another smaller machine seemed seemingly unmarked apart from a smooth hole passing clearly through its turret from one side to the other, a clean bullet wound through a condemned man's skull. More wrecks appeared, crowded together or isolated in drifts of their own debris. He recognized dozens of patterns at a single glance, though he saw many that he had never seen before. There were the great slab hulls of stormhammers resting beside the carcasses of legionary predators and workhorse executioners. Amidst the wreckage, the crumpled forms of battle automata, spread in tangles of machine limbs. One of the larger walkers seemed almost intact, its fire-scoured carapace unmarked and its piston-clamped fists locked onto the broken hull of a Cirresian, seemingly frozen in the act of tearing the tank apart. The cloud continued to roll away, and the carpet of dead metal grew beneath the feet of the Titan. The plains of Ketiv, muttered Caligol. Susanna heard the general gone take a slow breath, but he said nothing. Ketiv, Susanna thought. I must have stood on this very spot. There had been rain in the air that day, warm rain blown in from the south, so that the grasslands swayed and flowed like the tides of the sea. He stood beside the other men of his regiment, their heads turned to the heavens, watching the transports drop through the wet sky towards them. It had been the last time he had been on the surface of Talarn, the last time he had breathed its air. Now he could never do either again. What is this? He asked, dry voice in his throat. He looked at Gorn, and the general's scarred face became a fixed mask, his eyes distant. This, Caligol, turning his grey gaze on Susanna for a long moment. The white scar turned back to the plain of machine carcasses. It spread all the way to the horizon. This is victory, he said. That, my friends, is chapter the first. We'll be reading one of those maybe a week. And this book's really good, actually. It's totally worth the wait. I want to get better at doing this, so tell me if I've done anything particularly badly. And aside from that, that'll be it, really. Be at peace, my friends. Also, before I leave, I would like to give a shout out to my inspiration for this project, this reading project, which will encompass 1, 2, 3, and 4 big Warhammer law books. The inspiration for this project is a Freeman or not. Thank you for the inspiration to do this project, and I hope I can live up to your reputation, live up to your repertoire, sir. Good day, and Emperor protect you, as they say. Well, that'll be it.